together, right? Like we could conquer the world, even just for a night. I still remember the time and place when the vision came. From that day on, we've been elevated, ain't been the same. It's like we took what we wanted and didn't ask for it. Let it go, no concern for the past or if we were taking our only shot. Now fast forward, look what we built, now we bigger, better, and that's cars.
We want the best of the best of the best. That feeling our heart beating out of our chest. Cause this is the life, every night. We want it all.
Yeah, we want it all.
We're not afraid of dreaming big. We're not afraid to bring the fight. Wanted the best of both worlds. And it starts here tonight. When all the stars they collide. Now the future looks bright. We want the best of both worlds. And it starts here tonight.
We had a dream that.
Well, slight technical hitch. Tim, sorry about that. We don't know what happened.
The internet dropped out.
The internet dropped out entirely. So we've had one text already from Marco Cura, of course, a friend of the 90s podcast, based in Chester, or Crewe, because it's Crewe, isn't he? And the internet's gone there. So maybe there's some kind of link. However, so apologise for that. Welcome back again to the Don's Trust Board election Hustings 2019 with us, the 90s podcast. Joined by Tim Hillier. We were kind of halfway discussing the idea of the Don's Trust membership fee. It's £25. Is that sufficient? Is it too little? Is it too much? How important is that it is only £25?
When you say is only, that's a lot of money for some people.
It is.
But the operating costs are there, whether it's IT, as we've just experienced,
Yes.
or whether it's postage and stationery and things like that.
Yep.
You'd also asked me about whether the members of the board need to be paid.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say not. The Don's Trust is a not-for-profit. We have thus far managed to find the requisite skills and experience and not done too badly so far in taking a club from literally playing fields into League One. And for as long as that can continue, yes, let's do that. The time may well come when the demands are such and the skills that are needed that we might have to pay, but I hope that that's a long way off.
Okay, thank you. Now, we've got 3 questions that have been sent in advance by Don's Trust members. The first one from Jeff Seal. Do you favour term limits for service on the board?
Absolutely. Even the Football Association, that slow-moving dinosaur, has brought them in after being accused of being blazers and so forth down the years. I think this is one for the members to decide. My own personal vision would be 3 terms of 3 years. I think the terms need to be looked at. That 2 years, you're only just getting up to speed with the tasks that you've been given. 3 years, you can start making a real contribution. And 3 terms of 3 years, I think, is sufficient. And then step away for a couple of years, and maybe if you're needed, come back.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So we have another question from Peter Bowles. Thanks, Peter. What, if any, changes to the Constitution would you like to see and why?
I actually am working with a very good group on the Constitution Working Group. The Don's Trust Board decided that the time had come. The current Constitution is not fit for purpose, so it's a full review using the Supporters Direct template, but tailored to our needs, so the restricted actions and so forth. My particular role on that is regarding side policies, so things like standing orders at meetings and Don's Trust boards and so forth. It's amazing how many side policies that we've come up with, and in the new year we'll be presenting those to the members for further discussion. Okay. And one of the things you just mentioned that Jeff Seal introduced is the length of time. So we have a survey virtually ready to go, and it's only been held back because of this election process. So just before Christmas, just after Christmas, we'll get a survey out to hear the members' views.
Excellent. And finally, from Hazel Potter, I'll kind of slightly paraphrase. What social media accounts do you have? What do you use them for? And part 2 of her question is, what do you think of the current Don's Trust Board social media activity?
I have a Twitter account and a Facebook account, and I hardly ever use them. I'm just inundated constantly with emails. And my business life and my volunteering life is virtually all dealing with emails. Yes, social media is important, and that's why there is currently a dedicated member of the board who's tasked with looking after that area.
Yeah. Okay. But in terms of the output and the activity of the Dons Trust Board, are you happy with that level? If you were back on the board, was that something you'd look to change, improve, or whatever?
Well, I think that's something for the membership to say we need more, we need less, it's boring, or what they want. I do know that in football the demands are insatiable, whether that's in the print media, whether it's online, whether it's social media, that we are all so passionate about what we do that we want to know more, and maybe we think that something's been hidden from us. I can assure you that as far as possible I'm absolutely committed to transparency. Scrutiny from the members is absolutely key to running a successful organisation.
Excellent. Now we believe, Nick is waving at me, we have a question from, well several questions, hopefully several questions. So George, on the social media accounts, please read out, and let's just pick one. What's your favourite question?
My favourite question is the one question we've had sent in so
one.
far.
Okay, I thought Nick was holding up two for I see what he's doing.
It's Mr. Gallery Edenbridge has written in. Gallery Edenbridge. And his question is, how do we stay competitive on the field given the ongoing costs of the new stadium?
Good question.
It is a very good question, and that is something that we only just managed to achieve last season.
True, yes.
And I don't expect that in the coming couple of years at least that there's going to be much remission from being in the lower echelons of League One. Hopefully we can manage to stay there until the increased income streams from the new stadium kick in. That will ease the situation in years to come, so long as we're filling the stadium. But it's very noticeable that we haven't advertised tickets for our games for many years because we haven't had the seats to fill.
Yep.
Now that we will have seats to fill, let's bring in some new supporters and spread the word.
Okay, excellent. Now, as many of you know, Wimbledon FC was formed in 1889, and we've taken the 89 from that figure, and we have 89 seconds of questions, Tim. But they are rapid fire questions, and they are simple yes or no answers or multiple choice answers. We've just removed one at the request of of several people, but it was kind of it's vaguely political. You could have read it in two different ways, but just in case. Yes, exactly. So, are you ready for this? And what we do have last year, one of the successes last year was the bell. Mark has a bell. That is indeed a bell. Thank you for reminding us what a bell sounds like, Mark. That's fantastic.
It's a good bell.
It's a good bell. It works, doesn't it? In terms of bells, what more do you need?
Yeah.
Very clear. So, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'd like your immediate gut reaction answers. No thinking. Okay?
5,
Cool.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Pie or panini?
Pie.
Looking for Alaska or desperately seeking Susan?
The latter, desperately seeking Susan.
Rugby, yes or no?
Yes.
Carrie or Samantha?
I don't know the context.
Yeah, well,
Pass.
just choose. Okay, he's passed. Okay, it's a Sex and the City question. Okay, Batman or Spider-Man?
Batman.
Scotland or Wales?
Scotland.
Self-service checkouts, yes or no?
No.
Okay, Neil Ardley or Wally Downs?
Neil Ardley.
Cycle lanes, yes or no?
Yes.
McDonald's, plastic straws or not, or paper straws?
Paper straws.
Correct. Sorry, it's not correct. I can't prejudice this at all. Emery or Wenger?
Emery.
Good evening. Death or Glory?
Glory.
Long or Ramsdale?
Ramsdale.
And finally,
Oh,
very
got 35 seconds.
very important question, I speak very more slowly, is when you're making tea, Tim, are you bag first or milk first? Bear in mind there is a wrong answer.
No, we need the 50 seconds for this because I'm passionate about making tea.
Oh no, please, go for it.
Warm the mug or the pot first. It makes all the difference, and that was scientifically proven by my flatmate who was doing a PhD in
no.
making tea for his chemistry degree.
We're not saying you wasted his life, but okay, so
No.
but what happens then? So you warm the mug, then what?
And then you put the tea bag in and pour the boiling water on it.
It's the correct answer. Tim Hillier, thank you very much indeed. And we're going to wish all candidates good luck, but good luck.
Thank you, Kevin.
So thanks for your time, Tim. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
watching, everyone. Or no, thank you. Sorry for the technical issue, but the internet did drop out for the entire Kingston area, but it is now back. So that's very good. So join us in a few minutes when Nick will be speaking to Mark Sturgis. Thanks.
Thank you.
recall saying that exact same phrase this time last year, and I thought I sounded like Richard Madeley, which is something that no one ever wants to do. But anyway, to remind you, my name is Nick Draper. I am interviewing now our second candidate of this day of interviews, Mark Sturgis. Thank you very much, Mark, for standing.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated, as we say to all the candidates who have taken their time to do so. We have got anagrams of all your names, like we did last year.
Okay.
I don't think yours is too bad.
Okay.
Yours is fine. It's pretty neutral. It's markets rugs.
Ooh.
Do you market rugs?
No, but I do appreciate a good carpet. I'm particularly on a carpet. I looked for a nice living room carpet and like a nice thick pile so you can squid your feet into it.
You're a fan of the big, thick?
Yes.
Okay. Would you look into maybe marketing rugs?
Do you know, I never have, but to be honest with you, it could be Mark's Rugs.
It could be. Or it'd just be Mark Sturgis, Markets Rugs, and then it'd be
I
like...
could do that. I think that would be a bit of a tongue tie trying to get it out, you know,
True.
advertising on the internet.
This can go in a very weird way, guys. So
Yeah.
should-
Buy my rugs?
Should we-
Does that work out?
Yeah, Mark's Rugs. Anyway,
Okay.
we should move on.
We're going to have the innuendo bell.
I have no idea what you mean.
I'm
There's no innuendos there
having a
whatsoever.
bit of focus because I've got this whole career plan now about marketing rugs now, so apologies if I
So
do start to go on a
You're
tangent.
no longer going to be standing for Don's Trust because you'll be marketing rugs instead. No, not at all. So, Mark Sturgis, what do you actually do for a living?
I work for the civil service and working for the Department of Transport.
Mhm.
So I inspect lorries and buses for the government, effectively like sort of a car MOT, but slightly different. I'm actually a technical team leader, so I'm in charge of 9 people.
It's always that number 9 that keeps on coming up. It's so weird.
I hope you like that. I particularly wanted to put
Thank
that
you very
one
much.
there.
Very kind. Thank you. And that's, sorry, because you're based in Bognor, is that not
I am
correct?
indeed, yes.
So that's down
The south coast of
South
England,
Coast,
yes.
perfect, okay. So therefore, I have to ask you, how long have you supported Wimbledon?
Well,
I know you're originally from the area and moved to Bognor.
yes, I did. No, that is correct. Yeah, 1987. It was my grandfather that took me to my first game. He was originally from Wimbledon, and I used to go to the cinema. He used to take me on the Saturday morning to go to the cinema, and in the afternoon I would always stay in with my grandma, and then he would always go off. And just naturally, as I got older, he was curious, and I said, "Oh, where's Granddad going?" He was going to watch football, and I went to my first game. Mikey T-Wall, I think I've got this, help me with the date. It was 1987. We beat Nottingham Forest 2-1. Stuart Pearce scored. Fashion who scored the other one. I can't remember who scored the other goal. I'm sorry.
Hey, look, we have the viewing public who are watching. They'll help us out, I'm sure, and message us with the exact details in good time. So, obviously, still supporting Wimbledon ever since then, since 1987, and currently attending home matches, or do you get to many home matches coming from
Yes,
where
I
you
try
are?
and get as many home matches as I
Where
can.
do you normally watch from?
Usually, if it's just myself, I will always aim for the Rygast.
Okay.
Again, I'm trying to introduce my 2 children. I was quite lucky enough that I came to the open day, and due to my youngest son, who is 4, so he's not quite ready.
No.
But he did know the chance to while he's at the wheel, which I do have to say to him. We're working on a new one at the moment, but my oldest son, yes, he does come to games. And last game we were lucky enough to get tickets to watch Portsmouth, so that was a nice experience for him.
Absolutely. And speaking of football, as we do, and you've mentioned Stuart Pearce and John Fashanu, players of different positions. If you had been a footballer, what position would you have played and why?
I was a footballer. Unfortunately, I had a motorcycle accident. I had to stop. I was right-footed, but I got stuck out on the left wing.
Yeah, I had that.
And so I got stuck out there because eventually the right winger was a lot better than I was. So I was just lucky enough to be in the position. So I was left winger. I scored some bizarre goals in my time, which one was a very Billy Elliott type flick. I was chasing down the goalkeeper, running down, and I was kind of looking behind me, and the rest of the players would go running towards him. So I ran towards him, flicked my back with a donkey kick, bounced off my back, went in.
Very nice.
Bizarre goals I've ever scored.
Very, very nice. And that will be the last time we mention left or right wing on this conversation, because although we are conducting an election, we don't want to go down those routes with this one. We're very much based on the Dons Trust and the Dons Trust Board and AFC Wimbledon. I looked through your manifesto.
Thank you.
I say look through, I've read it. It's very much based on improving communication. That's your big thing throughout your manifesto. Where do you think the weakness is here then with communication? Is it with the club or with the trust, or is it with both? And in what ways?
I think in both we could improve. I've speak to being sort of, sometimes I felt a little bit remote. Sometimes I felt the information I was getting was sort of 2 weeks, 3 weeks old, when I would like to have known that information now. In today's modern society, everything is instant. You know, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, social media, Snapchat, everything like that. People want to know, and they want to know it now. My aim would be to work with the Dons Trust Board and to work with the club to improve communication. But that is also not forgetting there's a lot of older fans that I don't feel that communication is getting through to them, because they don't have social media, and my effort would be in some way to work out a way that would be best to contact them as well, to keep them up to date, like things to do with the new stadium, lots of different things I think that could be improved.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question, actually. You say talk about information about new stadium and what have you. So you say, because it's actually in your manifesto, I can quote you here from your manifesto, you say Dons Trust members deserve to know what is happening.
Yes.
So what areas do you think we're not hearing about
What it is
currently, aside from obviously the stadium reference there?
Okay, I mean, the thing I don't know how much everyone knows about the gentleman that's taking the photos, Kurt Pritchard, was taking the photos of the new stadium, and there was a bit of kerfuffle then that he went on site to take photos for everybody else to show, and unfortunately that he got removed from site because they didn't know who he was. And we've all put a lot of money and a lot of time into this seeing fantastic new stadium, and I think it's almost like we kind of want to see what we've been putting into it. We want to see that where our money's gone. We want to see where our time's gone, even if it was just a few choice words or a transcript and say, went to the new ground today, it was kindly shown around. We soon on the official site there's pictures of Ivor with his helmet on looking around. What I'd really love to see, it'd be great to see him up on the Dons Trust Board going round. It'd be lovely to see a fan on there. I mean, even possible thoughts I would have, it would be nice to have some kind of like raffle, and then we could get someone from the Dons Trust board or a fan going round the new stadium, because I'd certainly be excited to walk around there, and I think a lot of other people would do.
So you're thinking more of a sort of moving from communication more into sort of inclusivity for members
Yes.
in club business, and sort of more of a what you was like almost a cooperative sort of model where
Yes.
we're all members or owners, and then
Yes.
all should have perhaps access or certain privileges that come with being a football club owner. Okay, there are other areas. I mean, you've said you've again quoting you in your manifesto, you've referenced past errors of judgment. So whereas like things like you've mentioned there are things that perhaps people haven't thought of and things that we could introduce, where you reference past errors of judgment, what errors do you think were actually made there, and
I
how
think-
could we have avoided them?
Okay, I mean, again, infancy. I mean, you think about AFC Wimbledon, we are still a relatively new club in Learnington. There, a lot of the people, this isn't their full-time jobs, this is volunteering. We are really learning as we go. I don't think it's fair for me to point out errors that have gone in the past, but what I do think we should do is try and learn things and try and learn from our mistakes, and also utilising the current skill set that we have within our fan base. I talk to lots of different fans and they've got such unique different skills. I would love to be able to bring them on board and utilise them, like the gentleman that was taking the photos. He would be a great asset. Someone like Mark could sell his skill set. I would love to be able to have his skill set to be able to help promote everything.
Is that something where I would agree, obviously, I'll just praise Mark Hendricks there, as he's our yes, there we go. Thank you very much, Mark. And I'm sure there are many areas of which there are absolutely there are skills within the fan base that can help out. Do you think, potentially, that now, as you say, we're a League One football club, I think sometimes that gets lost by people because in the age of the Premier League, where everyone's talking about the big, massive clubs like Liverpool, Manchester United, Luton, all those sorts of teams, like we're a big deal now. Like the third tier is a big deal. It might not seem it because of those big clubs, but we are a big deal. And do you not think there's a little bit, as I drop my pen, that sometimes now we're at that level, certain roles and certain skills that fans can offer, it's harder to perhaps utilise them because of that nature of where we're at now?
I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Nick. I think there's a lot of people that have got a lot of skill sets that could be used on there. Let's just pick on Mark because he's right here.
I love picking on Mark.
In a nice way.
Yeah.
His videos and his editing skills are second to none. He is someone exactly that he's got a skill set that wants to volunteer his time to the club. That if I was lucky enough to be elected, I'd be knocking on Mark's door, WhatsApping him, saying, we need your skill set. I've met lots of other people. There's someone that nominated me, Grace McMillan. She's got a fantastic skill set in PR. She used to work as a journalist, and she's someone else that I'd be tapping in that resource who I think we could utilise. I just think there's so much hidden out there that we're just not looking at, and I think I would be looking at bringing those people in, bribing them, doing whatever, not having the Alan Kimball figure, because I was told the other day this was actually worth a good bit of money, but I bought this one to keep the company, but do whatever I needed to try and bring them into the club to use that skill set. I mean, kind of think when you said AFC Wimbledon is a big deal, sometimes maybe even I am a bit neglectful of thinking that, because to me it's always been the fans club, it's always been inclusive, and maybe if I was another fan, maybe I'm thinking AFC Wimbledon fans club, but I think we're unique. I mean, where else would I get a chance to stand and do this? Nowhere else. If I support any of those big clubs, I'd just be another number. Here, you know, I think I am recognised. And where else would I get this opportunity? Absolutely nowhere.
Right, absolutely. And then again, you've mentioned something about bringing people and getting them involved there from the fan base, and that's something else you've referenced in your manifesto. You said you'd like to support regular question and answer sessions. Now, we do have open meetings throughout the year. We have SGMs, we have AGMs, we have regular meetings that convene here at Kings Meadow every few months and what have you. We have the AGM every year. Every single Dons Trust meeting I've been to, there is a section at the end where it's just open to questions that we can pose to the Dons Trust board, to perhaps even the football club board. Eric always used to attend every single Dons Trust board open meeting. Joe Palmer now does that as well, and the other directors have done as well. So we have that opportunity, but I agree with you, the attendance at these is limited.
Yes.
So how do we make a success of, if you were to broach question and answer sessions, what form would that take in difference to what we already have?
Okay.
And how do you make a success of it?
Okay. One, what you guys are doing here is a fantastic opportunity. I appreciate it's your time coming out, but a live Q&A session would be a start. We could do some social media type questions, or we could even put something in the program for people to come out. I said I'm very aware that there are lots of people that don't use electronic platforms to communicate, and I think those we need to reach out just as much as the people with electronic platforms to use that. So things like that, we could do emails. There's just so much ways. I think we need to be sort of more open and approachable, and I would welcome that. I would welcome that. And I think also you're saying that people aren't able to attend these meetings, and I must admit I'm just as guilty as one of those people, because I have a life. I work, I've got 2 children, I've got lots of other things going on, and sometimes people just don't have that time to commit, but that doesn't make them any less of a fan. They still want to know what's going on with the club, and I just think we need to look at other ways of reaching out to these people to let them know what is happening. If some people wanted a letter, I'd be happy to write them a letter. Some people wanted an email, I'd be happy to do that. I just think we need to be mindful as the club and life is moving forward that there are other people that I think sometimes are feeling get a bit left behind.
And you include yourself in that, because obviously
Yes.
I guess you've got a little bit of distance as well with
Yes.
meetings being held here and what have you.
Yes.
I mean, can you think of maybe a specific way in which we can improve that experience for people with the question and answer sessions?
A specific way, whether or not it would be allowed or not, I'm sure it'd be nice if people were able to tune in to do a video. I'm not obviously nominating yourselves, because again, obviously you've got a lot of work to do already, but again, I'm sure there's other people with skill sets. It'd be nice if we, for example, one of the thoughts I had was like having a Don's Trust YouTube channel. That would be great to people to tune in that couldn't make the game. Make the meeting, because bearing in mind obviously when the meetings are usually held, it's towards the end of the day, people are probably quite tired, can't make it. Obviously the traffic around here and the public transport isn't the greatest either. And if
Lane will be worse.
yes, that was something we were discussing it on the other day when we were driving up to here for the Portsmouth game. Yes, public transport community. So there's all sorts of ways that we can communicate. I mean, I will want to make myself as open as I can to members, the people that I'll do my best to answer those questions. Even if it was to message me directly, I'd always make the effort to say, I've got your question, I don't know the answer, but I'll find it. I'll come back to you with the answer. Because rather than you ask me a question and I don't say anything, it's better. I always find it for me to come back to you and say, hi Nick, I've got your question. I don't know the answer, but I know someone who will find it, and I'll come back to you.
Mm-hmm. You would be aware that there's only, like for example, a YouTube channel, which sounds a great idea. There might be some concerns over access to people that aren't members.
Yes.
And restricting that. And obviously, clearly, we want to be as open as possible. I think everyone currently on the board would accept that as well. There are certain things, obviously, we can't know. I mean, how would you deal with that if you're asked a question that's something that is sensitive in terms of, we're running a private limited company, do you know what I mean, with AFC Wimbledon, and certain things with certain people and certain contract situations, for example, is one that we can't go into.
Of course. Again, that's where I would be tapping into people with different skill sets, knowing about how YouTube. I don't know how YouTube works. I'm not technically advanced enough to understand it, but there must be some way or somewhere or someone who I'd be able to contact to find out who'd be able to do something like that. And you were quite raising a good valid point there. There are things that can't be discussed, and how could we make it inclusive for Don's Trust members? I don't know the answer, but I will find out.
Speaking of Don's Trust members, £25 a year for adults currently.
Yep.
I think it's £5 for juniors. Is that too much or too little? Should we look at changing that?
I think that's about right. I feel that's good value.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to increase it, I would like to know what the reasons why, and I'll certainly ask the questions why. What do we get for it? Say they wanted to put it up by £5 because it's a nice, easy number. I would ask what we're getting for that extra £5. What's the benefits on that? And the same with the Junior Johns Trust membership. I would like to know what we're getting for. I feel it's about right.
Okay, so you would, if you were to get elected onto the board, for example, that's not something you'd look at?
No, as you say,
Immediate
quite
stage.
by my manifesto, my main aim is communication and making us feel all inclusive, because I feel for a little while we were out and then we're back in, and we're going a little bit, I feel we're going back out again. If I was to get elected, I would want to make sure we're all in together, because we're all Wimbledon fans.
Don's Trust Board currently, it's a volunteer role. You're submitting or hoping to submit your time for, anything like that.
Yes.
With the increased responsibilities that come with it, now we are a League One Level 3 football club. Should we be looking at maybe making board members or certain board members fully paid or full-time professionals?
Yes, but again, I have to think about costings. I was just speaking to John while I was waiting down there. And
That's John Dolan.
yes,
election
sorry,
secretary.
apologies, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of things that we just don't know what's going on in the background. I think we would need to look at it. If the finance is available, I would certainly say yes. But again, we need to look at where all the finance has gone. We are obviously spending a lot of money going into the new stadium, and funds, obviously, with playing funds and everything like that. I would need to thoroughly look before I openly commit to say yes. I'd want to do my research first before I found out.
Absolutely. Cool. Right, thank you. We had some questions that were sent in to us in advance from Don's Trust members. So I'm going to put some of these to you now. First one I've got is from Hazel Potter, who asks if you have any social media accounts, and if you do, what do you use them for?
Okay. As well as being a dad and supporting Wimbledon, I also play drums in a band.
Okay.
So I have.
What is your band called? may I
It's
ask?
called, quick free plug, China Lake Band.
China
Thank you.
Lake Band.
It's just a rock covers band. So I try and split my social medias up for different things. So I use Twitter mainly for football, because that's where I'm predominantly active.
That's your personal.
Yes, it is, yeah. I use Instagram for the band, and Facebook, because we've got like a separate band page, I kind of flip between the two.
Okay.
So, yes, I find Twitter, I seem to have a better response rate with that, so I stick to Twitter for AFC Wimbledon related matters. And anything to do with like 80s TV, particularly.
Anything in particular on 80s TV?
Well, I was 18, really. I grew up watching the 18.
No.
My biggest Twitter follower is a lady from the Cobra Kai series off YouTube. That's my biggest follower.
I have no idea.
Don't worry.
No idea.
It pleases me, and that's all that really matters.
As you know, as you're fully aware, I was born in '94, so I have got no clue about anything to do with the 80s. So, talking about social media, Don's Trust, do you think the Don's Trust could and should use social media better? I think we've already sort of ventured into that area of communications.
100%,
Any
yes.
specific examples of where we're lacking there, or?
I just think sort of overall general communication. I think, we could be far more active on the Twitter side. Again, mainly that's where I sort of look for football-related matters. I think we could make, even if it's, without saying too much, copying a lot of what you guys do on there by putting out funny tweets, questions, even something like that, just like icebreaker type things, just to get people more involved or things like that. I think, just to make it more, because looking at the Don's Trust following the actual tweet, it's not got a lot of followers, and I think there could be a lot more on there, and we need to bring them in.
Fair enough. Branching away from that side of things for the moment, Jeff Seal, he was interested to know if you favoured term limits for service for Don's Trust board members. It's currently, obviously, you're elected onto the board for 2 years, but there's no, as far as I know, no maximum period of which you could serve.
I think 2 years is about right.
Would you say if current members, how many terms do you think people should be allowed to perhaps serve, or do you think, as we've got it at the moment, just an infinite amount?
You need to get old to make it infinite.
It won't be infinite, obviously. But,
You've got a good question there. Thank you, Jeff. Good question. Let me think for a little. I can't think for too long. I think it needs review. Possibly. I don't think infinite is quite right.
Not infinite, no, clearly.
No, maybe you could put a maximum of terms of service. What that maximum terms of service would be, so you just let's pick 6. Well, I would say 9, but I've done it already, but we'll go 6 already. So I think that's something that would need to be reviewed and again consulted. So that's a very good question. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Last one from Peter Bowles. He would be interested to know if any changes to the Constitution you would like to see, if there are any, and why.
Very good question there, Peter. At this precise stage, no. But if I was successfully elected, then there were certainly things I would explore. That's a very good question. I don't think I'm unable to commit to at this stage or comment on. But however, should I successfully be elected, I'll get the words out in the end, then something I would look out to explore.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to look over my shoulder. I'm going to look at Mark for some reason. I'm going to actually look over my shoulder to George and ask George, do we have any questions from the live viewing public on YouTube?
Yes, we've got...
Sorry, very rude of me. Before that, did anyone get in touch with us about the 1987 Nottingham Forest game with the score?
No, sadly not yet.
Shocking, honestly. Can you do that, George? George,
Yes.
what have you been doing? Seriously, don't make me sack you. Right, so question from the live viewers.
We've got 2 questions for this one. The first one is the same one that came in for Tim Hillier, which is how do we stay competitive on the pitch with the ongoing costs of the new stadium?
I think what Wally, now obviously it's going to cause some division already just by mentioning his name, put in place last year is a good start. It's fantastic to see players like Puosu come out on there. I think we need to go back to the old Wimbledon ways, which I think Wally was starting to put into. We really need to tap into the youth. I mean, obviously those recent Youth FA Cup games with 10-0, wasn't it? I mean, that was rather exciting. But I think we've got fantastic youth development. Again, I'm only 42, sorry. But I'm old school Wimbledon, and I was brought up on youth, watching these players come in. I mean, Carl Court, Neil Hardley,
Jason Newell.
Dean Blackwell.
Yeah. How many? Stuart Castle,
Perry, Neil Sullivan. I mean, it's got to be the youth policy. That's all I want to see. Homegrown players. Just speaking to John Dolan outside, and he was talking about the journey that he had with some players from last season, and how that the young players know about the club. Mark Robinson, obviously, what I like about Mark Robinson is that he drills into the youth players about how important this club is, how important things are, and what it means to represent Wimbledon.
Next.
Yeah, we have another question which is from Mark Jones, and that's: do you think we have enough football club board members / directors, and if not, do you feel that this needs addressing?
Again, I don't know the budgetary implications on doing something like that. If budget was no option, then I would say yes, we need to have more. But again, without sounding like a football manager, there is a lot of budgetary constraints, and I think those need to be explored to see what it is. Again, obviously not being on the board and only a member, I have no idea what these budget constraints are. Should I successfully be elected, is something I'd be looking to explore to find out, do we have that budget? Because it is such a fine line of keeping things on the playing field and what goes on behind the scenes. I think a lot of stuff behind the scenes we don't see, because all we do see is what's served up on the pitch. And think, well, why don't we go and buy Ronaldo? Well, probably because we haven't got the money, because we've got all these other things to do. I think there's so many people in this club that are just unrecognised, giving up their time for free, doing so much, and I just don't think sometimes that's recognised. So again, I think that's something I would need to look at should I successfully be elected.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, George. Very well done.
Thank you, George.
Your job is safe for the time being. Right, very quickly then, last little bit, we have our game, AFC Wimbledon. Wimbledon's Football Club was formed in 1889 on the 2nd of November, so it shares its birthday with my mother, so happy birthday, Mum, for yesterday as well.
Happy birthday, Mrs. D.
Thank you very much. Your telegram, I have no doubt, will be in the post. So we have a game called Because of 1889, 89 seconds, very quickly, quick fire, either or questions.
Okay.
It's
5.
We're going to go straight into it.
Go for it, go.
Really?
Go on in.
Okay.
Yep, no. Go?
Yeah.
Bill Murray or Seth Rogen?
Bill Murray.
Backstreet Boys or Take That?
Ooh, take that.
The Circle or The Cube?
Cube.
Fatboy Slim or Fat Man Scoop?
Fat Man Scoop.
Looking for Alaska or Desperately Seeking Susan?
Desperately Seeking Susan.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Definitely. We've got 60 seconds.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Correct answer. Tess or Claudia?
Tess.
Standing or sitting?
Standing.
English or maths?
English.
Right answer. Batman or Spider-Man?
Batman.
Scotland or Wales?
That's the most difficult question you've asked. Wales, I suppose.
The correct answer was neither. Cycle lanes, yes or no?
Yes.
Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart? Be very, very careful with this one.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
There we go. Phew, right, happy days.
Any more wrestling questions in there?
Alexa Bliss or Page?
Page.
WWE or AEW?
AEW.
Okay.
9.
Should McDonald's bring back plastic straws, yes or no?
Yes.
Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2.
Ghostbusters.
And finally, when you make a cup of tea, do you put the bag in first or do you put the milk in
I've
first?
waited so long to answer this question, so I'm going to answer it. What do I put in first? The milk first.
What?
No, it's the bag first.
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to see your
Dear
face.
me.
I
I
wanted
had-
to see. Did you capture his face on camera? Because I was
I
looking.
was like
I
in
didn't-
shock.
Oh, I was looking for your. I
I
wanted
was
to be
like-
like the dun dun dun.
We survived the English or maths question, we survived the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart question, but that would have been a killer. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, Mark.
Thank you very
Good
much,
luck
Dick.
with the forthcoming
Thank
election, and we hope Alan Kimball with his wonderful left foot brings you some magic as well. Ha, see what I did there?
Very good.
Very good. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And viewers, we shall be back at 11:30. Kevin will be back in this chair and he'll be interviewing Jane Lonsdale.
Hello viewers, welcome back to the Dons Trust Board Election Hustings 2019 with us, the 9 Years Podcast. I'm Kevin Boris. Thank you for joining us again, and I'm joined by Jane Lonsdale. Hi Jane.
Good morning.
Thank you for giving up your time, as you regularly do.
Very well.
Jane is one of the word we've come up with is re-standing. There must be a better word than
I think
that.
that's the right word.
But you're a current board member and you're standing again. Okay, so we're going to, without further ado, this is the bit that you can class as a do. I know we're not having any more of that. So we know your name. What is your occupation, Jane?
I am a civil servant. I'm the head of governance at the Treasury.
And what does that involve?
So it's all the boring stuff about making sure that everything we should do, we do in relation to Parliament and to the public. So obviously, as a government department, we are very transparent about all sorts of things about how we spend public money. And so I essentially write the governance statement in the annual report, and then we have to put that to Parliament, and we are questioned on whether that's what we've done is correct or not.
Okay, thank you. So, 3 important questions. How long have you supported, I'm going to use the phrase Wimbledon's football club?
My first game was in 1994, so 25 years. God, that's quite scary.
Yeah, mine was 1977. I saw Glyn Hodges' first game and Wally Downs' first game, so I've got back a horribly long way. So where do you watch home matches from?
Here, we've always watched them in the same seats, back of Block C in the main stand. We got those seats when we first came here. We had young children at the time. We wanted to be near the end of a row at the back so they could see, and that's where we are, and we've
Still
stayed
there
there
now.
ever since.
Excellent. So, this is a great question, I think. If you were a footballer, what position would you play and why?
If the big bit of that is
Yeah.
if I was a
Yeah,
footballer, because clearly that's never going to happen,
Well,
and never has happened. What position would I play and why? Does it have to be a footballer? I.e., could I not be the manager and shout stuff
can.
from the sidelines?
Yes, if you'd rather. Yeah.
So yes, probably the manager or the coach, because I don't think I'd be any use whatsoever on a pitch.
Okay.
But probably off the pitch, or maybe the goalkeeper. He does quite a lot of shouting, doesn't he, from the back?
Yeah.
And sees everything in front
So
of him.
you're looking at the shouting as being part of the... Are you good at-
Direction.
Are you good at pointing?
Or very
'Cause
good
I
at
think Will
pointing.
Nightingale is one of the best pointers I've ever seen in football. Will Nightingale points beautifully.
Will you tell me?
That's perfect. It's better than Will. Okay, and one of the... So this is a serious thing, but we are trying to make it reasonably light-hearted in the fact that we've come up with anagrams of everyone's name, all the candidates' names. Yours is kind of odd, but it's Jeans Laden Low. Yep. So there's far worse than this. Okay.
That reminds me of those youth that wear their...
That's exactly it.
No,
Yeah, okay.
that's not for me, I'm
We'll move
afraid.
on. Okay. So we'll get to the serious questions now. So you are seeking re-election. You are re-standing. How long have you been on the Don's Trust board?
So I was elected to the board in December 2013.
Okay.
So 6 years.
Yeah. So you say in your manifesto you believe it's important to retain continuity and corporate knowledge on the board. Can you expand on why those factors are so important to you?
Because we're at a really critical moment in where we are. You know, we're about to go back to Plough Lane. We're professionalising. You know, we're now paying a CEO. We've recruited and employed a CEO. And I think ensuring that some of our corporate knowledge about what we are and what we stand for is really important. There's huge amounts of information. We had quite a significant change on the board last year, and whilst I think that's a good thing, I also think that we need to be able to retain some of the ethos about what we are about, but also ensuring that those new board members are up to speed, and that actually takes quite a bit of time. You know, there's been several conversations in board meetings this year where we've talked about stuff, and it's like, so why are we doing this? What's the policy on this? And actually it's something that we put in 2 or 3 years ago, and the reasons why we did it, you know, so ensuring there's a bit of continuity, I think is quite a good thing.
Now, I asked Tim Hillier this question. I think I'll ask you as well. In terms of your job and what you do on a day-to-day basis, do you think that's a really important thing to bring what you do professionally into the board, and that's one of the reasons people elect board members is because of what they do as a job? They can bring media, they can bring accounting, they can bring, you know, raising money or crowdfunding as part of their speciality. Do you think it's an important part of the board?
I do. I think it's actually a mixture of two things. I think it's about bringing your professional life and your experience outside, and not necessarily just in work, but, you know, there's other stuff, having a family and, you know, equating how that works in a football stadium and that kind of stuff. But there's also about being, you know, your position on the board and your relationship with the fan base and how you work with those, and you know, if we all had the same job and had the same experiences, it wouldn't be a very diverse board. And actually making sure that we are representative of the fan base, that's our main thing, you know, our main role. People are electing us based on what we say we're going to do or what we have done, and ensuring that we deliver those things is really important.
Okay, thank you. So in your manifesto, you advocate transparency and accountability. Many people still consider this as an issue for the club. So question sort of 1A is, do you? And if so, how can it improve? and how does it affect the trust? Does it affect the trust more than the club? It's kind of three-part question.
Okay, you might need to run some.
Yeah, I've got them all marked off.
So is it still important to me? Yes, otherwise I wouldn't be standing to do something about it.
Okay.
I don't think we're anywhere near where we should be. We could go to the extremes of what they do in Parliament, where every single thing is recorded and put out, regardless of what it is. There is an element of we are an employer. And so there's certain things that we can't put out, personnel, or particularly with the stadium, there's been lots of, sort of bargaining and deals done and negotiations that have been done that we couldn't put out because it's commercially sensitive.
Yeah.
But getting that balance right is really important to me, and I don't think it's right at the moment. I think we still don't say as much as we potentially could.
Okay. Does that affect the trust as much as the club, or vice versa, or does it affect them equally?
So I guess it depends on what area you're talking about. So if it's about the commercial negotiations with the club, with the stadium, then that's a trust and club thing. If you're talking about, we've had a conversation in a board meeting that's been redacted. Why has it been redacted? So it depends on what the conversation is about. But I think it does affect both. I think. I'm more concerned about the trust, because that's the bit that we can absolutely do.
Okay. Good answer, thank you. It's a tricky question, but thank you. So again, you've mentioned just now, and of course in your manifesto, that the differing views on the fan base and how you wish to represent the diversity of opinion on the board, and that your discussions are kind of informed by member opinion. You're there to represent the opinions and views of 3,000 odd people. So how do we make this more obvious for fans and members to see? So members send in questions, they might ask you, they might ask one of the other board members. How can they see that their questions are being, if not answered, at least addressed and not ignored, but not kind of cast aside? So
there's formal ways and informal ways. So I guess the formal ways are through the minutes of the meetings. People have said stuff. I think we need to be a bit clear about members' opinions vary dramatically.
Yeah.
And so let's use the fans bet temperature test that we did an example. I happened to be on kiosk duty that day, so I was in the kiosk. We had several fans who came in that were, this is fantastic, you're asking us, this is brilliant, great, and others going, why are you asking us this? This is what we elected you to do. And so members and fans' opinions vary dramatically. And so getting a sense of what members think is important. And I think if you do, we've started to do it, but doing more temperature tests and things like that shows that there's a definitive way. I think having a strategy for the club is really, really important. We started to do a bit of that in the summer. There were some sessions that we ran. I think we only ever advertised it on social media, but we ran some sessions that I went to 3 or 4 of them, and just setting questions about where do you want to see us in 2 years' time, and where do you want to see us in 10 years' time, and some difficult questions around let's imagine that there's a massive budget slash. What happens? Where do you prioritise your money? And actually getting fans' views and members' views on that is really important in understanding some of that. When we then discuss it in board meetings. And it might be that in board meetings we say, actually, the fan base is split on this, the membership is split on this, and therefore we need to do a more formal test of what that is, whether that's via a resolution at an AGM or an SGM.
Because you look on social media or just at games and listen to people, one of the issues people bring up now is the idea of, would we ever sell out to a multi-millionaire to come in, and if we are at the ceiling, if there is such a thing as a ceiling as a fan ownership model, would we want to remain in League One or bounce between League One and League Two because that's what we're happy with, or would people want to sell the club to a sheikh, move up and potentially get to the Premiership? That's all Premier League. Sorry, you're on. So is that the kind of thing that you would discuss in a meeting, or is that sort of arbitrary because it may never happen? So
I think you'd have to. I think if you were ever in that position, you'd have to go to the members, because I think I can't remember whether it's an exact resolution within the constitution, but that's exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about with the ethos of Wimbledon and what it is we're about. We're a fan-owned club. If ever there was any suggestion that we weren't going to do that or be that anymore, then we would need to go to the membership and ask. In my opinion,
yeah, sure, okay. So how do we get younger members' views heard? The 18 to 35-year-old demographic is pretty much woefully underrepresented on Trust board matters. And I remember last year I went to a board or a Don's Trust meeting. I'm 51 and I was the 8th youngest person in the room.
Yeah.
Now, that's quite nice of me, I have to say. But so where are these people? Because you see them at games. I stand near people who are kids who are 19, 20, 21. Why are they? I could ask them, are you Don's Trust members? But
Yeah.
how do you get them involved in the board? It could be like a junior board, for example.
So we've batted this round for a number of years. You might remember that I think it was in 2017 we brought Charles Williams onto the board. We recognised that this was an issue. We co-opted somebody on to deal with that specifically. There were several suggestions put forward at the time. I think I'm in the fortunate position that I've got a son who's 19 who is involved quite a lot with the youth teams and with the academy setup, and actually talking to them and getting their opinions, and that it is really interesting. We ran some sessions down here when we were talking about the branding of the club, and about I think the question was posed about whether we change our name or not. Now, there's various opinions on that, but it was really interesting to hear the younger fans in that age range, the 18 to 35s, who we'd asked to come along about their opinion on that, because they haven't seen Wimbledon FC, what they've seen and attributed to AFC Wimbledon, and actually making sure we hear their voices is really important. So running sessions like that, actually going and asking them direct on the terraces, and first what makes it attractive to membership. It's getting them to buy into what is unique about us. We own our club, and that's got and telling that story in different ways of how we got to where we are. That's attractive to them. You've got to go to them. They're not going to come to you.
Thank you. And you look at when we left Plough Lane in 1991. So if you were even 7 years old, you're now at least 35, 36 if you've ever seen a game at Plough Lane. It kind of sort of brings home to you how long ago that was. Okay, so
can I just add to that?
Yes.
When we talked about the meetings that we had when we did the strategy sessions earlier on in the summer, one of the ones that I consciously set up was actually go and talk to the supporters team. Went to a pub in Moxburgh Park and met with them to get their views. And actually, you're right, their views are quite different to where the ceilings are and what the limits are of what we can achieve.
Sure, because there are people I know who are young, a bit younger than me, that are kind of disappointed and kind of upset at leaving Kingsmeadow because it's their home. And to me, it's never really been our home. It's where we are now.
This is our rented accommodation,
exactly.
Although it's not.
Yes. In an esoteric way, yes, agreed. Okay, so I've got two more questions. Ensuring fan ownership and not selling influence on boards is essential. We kind of discussed this already, but has selling influence ever been considered, and is there room for manoeuvre? We've kind of covered that, but so your own personal opinion on that?
So my opinion is that I'm absolutely against selling whatever influence is on the boards, but I think you've got to look at it in the round about what we want to achieve, and so you therefore need to be very clear about what it is you want to achieve and how much that's going to cost, and ultimately we've talked about let the members decide. Personally, to me, fan ownership is the number one thing for me. And when we've asked members in the past, when we did the membership survey a couple of years ago, when we did the NEF thing way back, it was fan ownership. And so if that is still the same thing, then we need to retain that as our primary.
Okay, thank you. We now come to the questions people have sent in for us. So Jeff Seal, it's the same question as previously.
Hello, Jeff.
Do you favour term limits for service on the board?
Really interesting question, because I thought about this long and hard in standing for election this time. I think ultimately it's down to the membership to decide. I've stood for re-election. If the membership don't want me on the board or want to put in term limits, then now's the time to do that. I actually think there's a debate about how long people serve, whether it's 1 year, 2 years or 3 years. When we were doing some work in 2017 around increasing diversity on the boards, which I'm really pleased that Anna and Hannah and stood last year to increase the diversity on the boards. We're looking at specifically women on the boards and looking at youngsters on the boards, tying into your 18 to 35 question. It's very hard for 18, 20, 25-year-olds to know where they're going to be in 3 years' time. And so 3 years is quite a long commitment for people. And if we're going to increase the diversity of our boards, we need to be really careful about setting term limits like that. And perhaps doing a rotating system of a 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, that will limit what you can do, because achieving something in a year is quite tight.
Yep.
You ask, Luke and Hannah and Anna, who came onto the board last year, what they've achieved in a year can be quite difficult. Ultimately, I think it's about how much time and commitment you've got to offer, whether you've got new things to offer, because you can become quite stale in a role, and then about what you're able to deliver in that time. I'm denied about whether to stand. I asked lots of people's opinions about whether I should have stand. I am re-standing, and ultimately it's the membership who decide.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So Peter Bowles has asked, what, if any, changes to the Constitution would you like to see and why?
Oh, good question. Good question. Our Constitution, I think, was good for when we started. I think it needs updating, and as you probably know, we've got a Constitution working group who are looking at it. We've got some expert help on that with James Matthey, who used to be at Supporters Direct, is coming to help us with that. I think there's things that can be changed. I think it's really hard for members to put a motion to an AGM or an SGM, and particularly if they want to put something more stronger than a motion, it's really difficult. You need a ridiculous amount of people to support it, in my opinion. I'd like to make it easier for members to do that. I joined the board back in 2013 because I was motivated at the fact that I had put a motion to an AGM, because we'd done something really a bit silly at the time about increasing the price of child season tickets without consulting our fans. I just didn't think that was the right thing to do. Put a motion to stop us doing that, and that's, we can't increase the prices of season tickets without getting membership buy-in because of that motion. Members putting motions is really, really important, because it demonstrates what they see as important, and it can be debated and discussed in a meeting. My change to the Constitution would be making that easier for members to do.
Thank you. Good answer. So we've got a question for you, and it's from John Lynch. And
Hello,
John
John Lynch.
asks, it's very small writing, Nick. You can tell Nick's a teacher. His writing is tiny and very, very poor.
I don't want the kids to know what's saying.
Oh, fair enough. Well, they won't. I can guarantee you they won't. I'm going to have to hold it up. This is like you've written in 4-point. This is in 4-point party lettering. Anyway. So, if an elected DTB member speaks in a derogatory or insulting manner about another DT member, what would you expect to be done about it?
If a DTB member
speaks in a derogatory or insulting tone about another DT member, what would you expect to be done about it in terms of action?
So, I would be quite upset if somebody spoke in a derogatory way. So let's say somebody spoke in a derogatory way to me, then I would feel quite empowered within a meeting to say, hang on a minute, let's not talk like that. There's a way to talk about people, and not talk about people, but I can't imagine that there would be a way where DTB members would do that.
Okay.
What would I expect to happen about it? I would expect the chair to step in and stop that happening. If it was in that kind of environment, I would expect there to be people can get, we're all quite passionate about our club. That's one of the good things about, being a Wimbledon supporter, is you're very passionate about it. I imagine that I would expect the chair to step in and there to be some conversations about, acceptable behaviour within a meeting.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I don't know what John's getting at, but I hope that answers the question.
I think you probably answered it. So we have questions from actual real people who are watching live on.
I think they were real people as well.
Well, they were real people, but they weren't live. They are alive. Okay, let me just clarify. I'm not suggesting for a minute that Jeff, Peter, and John are not alive. I'm saying they're currently not writing the questions.
I see.
These are questions sent
These
in.
were pre-sent in.
These
and
are pre-sent in. The George Jones, the real boy, sitting over there to my right. George, say hello again.
Hello.
I think he's a man. I think he's over 18. I think you can refer to him.
Yeah, technically, yeah. George, questions for Jane.
Yeah, we've got 3 questions sent in for Jane.
Wow.
First one is, what do you think is the best way for a Dons Trust board member to get things done?
So there's a mixture of stuff here. I've got one pair of hands and there's a huge remit. So actually getting volunteers to do stuff that we should be setting the strategy and people should be delivering it ultimately. And I guess I've demonstrated that with setting up 2 working groups. So the Junior Dons working group does huge amounts of work in getting every single Junior Dons members' birthdays and Christmas cards hand signed by all the players and sent to them. We send out a couple of newsletters a year. In fact, we've got a working party on the 13th of November. Anybody free to come and stuff some envelopes, do please come and join us. We're sending out one of the newsletters. And so actually I've got a working group there of I think about 6 people who do all the Junior Dons stuff. I don't get involved in that very much, but if we want to change the strategy for the Junior Dons, then that will be me that will lead that, and then they will hopefully deliver it. And exactly the same on the diversity and inclusion. There are some things that I need to deliver, that I've committed to deliver, so I'll oversee all of those things, but like the Junior Dons Christmas party, I coordinate, so I'll be here on the day making sure it all goes smoothly, but actually there'll be 25 other volunteers in the room helping deliver that. And while we're on volunteers, can we just say a massive thank you for all that they do, because, and including you guys, you're all here on a Sunday giving up your time, but actually across the organisation we have hundreds of volunteers who give up their time.
Indeed, good point. Thank you to everyone who kind of makes this club what it is. I mean, that's not prejudicing the election, that's just a thing that we need to say. Okay, so George, question 2.
Yeah, question 2 is from Joyce, who should have greater control over the club, the Dons Trust Board or the Football Club Board?
Who should have greater
control over the club?
So I think that's pretty clear. The Football Club Board run the operations of the organisation. They sort out the match days. They sort out the Dons Trust Board set the strategy for the Football Club Board. So ultimately, if you look at the organisation chart, which is available on the Dons Trust website, then the Dons Trust Board is up there.
That's the question was: is that the right way?
Is that I think so? Yeah, because it's about when we're talking about fan ownership. You've elected a board to represent those views, and those ultimately it's what we want as a club. What sort of club do we want to be? And that's the club that we are. We will then tell the FCB that we want to. Whatever random. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a really odd thing that we would never do. That would be an example of, if we said every fan had to wear white t-shirts, then it would be the members that decided that we're all going to wear white t-shirts. It would be the Dons Trust Board that said to the Football Club Board, right, we're going to say that all the fans have to wear white t-shirts.
That happens in Arizona's. I forget what the name of the team. The Arizona's ice hockey team. The fans have to wear white.
Do they?
Yeah, home fans have to.
Well, we all wear blue and yellow, so
it's called the Whiteout, but I forget the name of the team. Who wants to write in with the name of the Arizona/Phoenix National Hockey League team? I can't remember.
Right, let's move on, please.
Okay, that's an important thing. George, question 3.
Question 3 is from Mark Jones, and that's: do you think members should directly elect the Dons Trust Board chair?
Do I think Dons
Trust members should directly elect the chair of the DTB?
So it works at the moment by the Dons Trust Board electing the chair at its first meeting. I don't know actually. It would. So we elect the chair in the first meeting after the elections, pretty much. So that was the January, and this year we had some. I don't think we had any competition for it. I guess you've got to have a willing volunteer to do it, and if the members decided that somebody who wasn't a willing volunteer was to do it, so maybe you'd have to run like a second mini election to say who would be willing to stand. What is this? I guess you could do that. You could do it. I'm not sure whether. I'd like to understand from Mark a bit more about what difference that would make.
Maybe he'll write it.
Yeah, but.
We're running out of time.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
okay.
But you could do that. I'd need a little bit of persuasion about why. I'd like to understand a bit more about why he would felt that was really important.
There is one more question from Richard Lonsdale, who says, "Could you get some ham on the way home?" So we now come to the the fun bit. So we'll mention every time we do this, but Wimbledon were formed in 1889. We have 89 minutes of questions. 89 questions. Great. 89 seconds.
I was told it was like 20 minutes.
I think 89 questions. We should next time we'll really grill people. We'll have 89 questions. We have actually removed one for political reasons. So Jane, Mark has his bell. Please show the bell again. That is a bell.
It's very loud bell.
It's quite loud, isn't it? So are you ready, Jane?
I'm
This is
ready.
either or.
Okay, yeah.
Summer or winter?
Oh, summer.
VAR, yes or no?
No.
Pie or panini?
Pie.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert or Wicked?
Priscilla.
Richard or Judy?
Oh. Judy.
Eamon or Ruth?
Ruth.
Ruth, of course. Fat Boy Slim or Fat Man Scoop?
Fat Boy Slim.
Beef burger or beetroot burger?
Oh, beef burger.
Okay. Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
Carrie or Samantha?
Samantha.
Okay. Scones, jam first or cream
Oh,
first?
seriously? Jam first.
Scotland or Wales? We're not quite sure. I don't know where this comes from.
Scotland.
Okay. Long or Ramsdale?
Rambo.
Plastic straws, paper straws?
Oh, can we not have tin straws?
Yeah, okay.
Make the drink
Metal
taste a
straws.
bit like-
Yeah,
So we have metal straws at home.
Do you have metal straws?
Yeah.
Okay. Does not taste like
No.
metal? No, they don't. Okay, fair enough then. Is Stuart Deacons an idiot, yes or no?
No.
Okay. And finally, the big question of which there is a wrong answer. When you're making tea, Jane, do you put the bag in first or the milk in first?
Okay, so I know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Bag first.
Yep.
But I understand that there was a photograph. We orchestrated a photograph. I don't know whether it ever made it to you. Whether we ever made it to you. But at a board meeting, Luke and I were making tea, and I said, right, let's put the bag and the milk in and send a photograph to them and say whose tea is it. I don't know whether it ever made it to you, but the truth is bag first.
Bag first.
Bag
Excellent.
water.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. So Jane Lonsdale, thank you very much indeed for your
Thank
time,
you.
and thank you for your standing and what you've done so far on the board. Good luck. We say good luck to everybody. So join us in a few more minutes' time, where Nick will be speaking to Dennis Lowndes, and then we're having a lunch break.
Hillier, and I'm now joined with our fourth candidate of the day, which is Dennis Lowndes. So Dennis, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
And thank you very much for once again standing for election to the Dons Trust Board. It's very kind of you. I've only just noticed that I'm sat on a high chair apparently, and I've not noticed this before, so if I'm a little bit higher up, I do apologise. I am very tall, but you know, at my age, I'm still growing as well. So anyway, Dennis.
You as well for being in relation.
I should have a bib in being in a high chair, and sometimes I do need it. Not as bad as my niece does, however, who cannot eat pasta without spilling it on her shirt. Anyway, that's enough about me. Dennis, we have interviewed 3 people so far, and for every single one of our 8 candidates, we have, like we did last year, if you remember, we made an anagram of your name.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest, I cannot remember for the life of me what your anagram was last year.
Nor can I.
No, I'd have to look it up through my notes. However, I don't think it was this, because I think I've got a new one, which I thought was quite profound, considering what the reason we're here today. And that is, an anagram of Dennis Lowndes is widens Don Lens. I thought it was quite philosophical.
Yeah.
One
Very
of the-
interesting.
One of the nicer ones, better than the last one I had, I've got to be honest. Right, so Dennis Lowndes, what do you do for a living? That's the first
I'm
question I'll ask
retired.
you. You are retired. What did you do? Sorry, remind me what you did as a career or through your working life.
I first started my life as working for Cadbury's, selling to people like Tesco, Sainsbury's, Marks and Spencer's, everybody, as a national account manager.
Okay.
I then, in the later years, ran a company, and then obviously after that, I went and became a premises manager, school in Wimbledon, the
That's
Ursuline
right.
High School.
That is right, yes, I remember
And
this
then
now. Yes.
after that, I had spent there about 6 years, and then I got headhunted to become the premises manager of the Passade School, which is special needs school in Malden.
Yes.
And one of the most nicest parts of my life that was.
In terms of your Wimbledon life then,
Yes.
how long have you been supporting all
Only
Wimbledon football
66
clubs?
years.
66 years. Can you remember your first game at
No.
all? No? You still attend matches, obviously.
Yes.
Did you get down to Kingsmeadow regularly or every game?
Regularly, yeah.
Yeah. Whereabouts do you normally like to watch?
I
matches?
go from the Paul Strength stand.
Very nice, the
Block
main
E.
stand. Block E. Now, I am terrible with the blocks in the main stand because I always forget where they are and they seem to go from A that direction. I don't know. So Block E, is that right on the halfway line, that one?
No, it's a bit nearer to the Kempflow end.
Right.
So it's
Cool.
about 3 blocks in the middle.
Nice. So, okay, you had a great view of the linesman yesterday.
Yes. No comment.
Yes, say no more. Say no more.
As a referee, I cannot comment on
I
fellow
wouldn't.
colleagues.
I wouldn't ask you to. If you yourself had been a footballer,
Yes,
what position would you have played and why?
I was a footballer, and
Okay.
I have played every position on the football field.
So you were the original Toby Civic.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. What was your favourite position to play?
I would have said centre half.
Centre half. Very nice. Cool. Right. Well, on now to the meat of the interview.
Right.
So, as we've done with all candidates, we've gone through your manifesto and what have you, and sort of looked at what you're looking at discussing and things like that. You have a very key thing in your manifesto that you describe, which is the creation of a members club.
Yes.
And you sort of reference the fact we wouldn't have season ticket holders anymore.
No.
We'd just have members, or as you say, owners.
Yeah.
Can you sort of explain and specify exactly how that would, or how you consider that would work practically, in a practical sense? And when you say instead of season ticket holders, does that literally mean no one has a season ticket, everyone that comes to a game is just a
No, it means that if you're a season ticket holder, you basically automatically become an owner or a
Right.
member of the club.
Okay.
So the fact is, for that year, you know, if you don't renew it, then obviously you don't become a member, but you can still be a permanent member as a Dons Trust member. But the whole idea is to try and make, going into the new stadium, we're going to have something like 6,000 season ticket holders, I would hope, and I'd like to see all those 6,000 season ticket holders as members of that club.
Okay. Do you think there is an appetite for this currently?
Well, there is. If the project I've looked at is Surrey County Cricket Club.
Okay.
They operate theirs is a total members club,
Mm-hmm.
and again, the benefits to them is the fact that you get, as a supporter or a member, you actually get discounts. You get them attending different functions and getting a discount on that. It's a way of actually getting people committed to the club
and actually getting you to give benefits to them. Because at the moment there are no benefits to becoming a member of a Don's Trust member. We don't get discounts for in the shop. We don't get discounts for this, and I think we could do it, and that way you get more people become members.
Fair enough. I would ask so in reality, the idea of members club, it wouldn't look too much different from what we have currently. Then I think I might have misinterpreted. So the current model we have, all we would change, but what you would do is from the current way we have it, someone buys a season ticket, they also become a Don's Trust member. But
Correct.
people can still separately just be a Don's Trust member if they want to pay their £25 a year and what have you.
What you can do, you can have a membership, and you can actually have an opt-out system if you wanted to.
Okay.
Because I think a season ticket holder should be a member, because the fact is that they're going to support your club all year round. So the fact is you want them to be members and have a say. At the moment, a lot of season ticket holders just come and watch the game, but okay, thank you for their money and buying programmes, but I think they should become more involved and be part of the club, and that's what we really want.
Would that involve any price increases, do you think, to season
Yes.
ticket holders? You'd put it up £25 a year
Yes.
for a season ticket?
Yeah.
This sort of leads me on to a question I was going to get to further down the line, actually, but it's a good place to ask it now then. Do you think that £25 is the correct amount currently for a membership of the Don's Trust?
I think currently no, if we don't give any benefits to them.
Right.
I think we've got to give a benefit to them to become a member. And then that way, people will say, oh, well, I'm a member of Wimbledon Football Club because, we get this discount, that discount, and when people come along and they can go and buy a pint and get a discount in certain times, I think it's a good idea.
Is there any other benefits they think of then? So you mentioned discounts in club shops, maybe food prices and bars.
Functions.
Yeah.
Because the fact is that we in our new stadium, we're going to have we're banquet facility for 800. We've got to have that fully committed on a regular basis, and we have club functions going. We can give discounts for talks from ex-players or bringing other people. There's lots of opportunities. And the fact the new ground has got to be a 24/7 ground, and if we don't do it correctly, we're going to lose a lot of money, and I think we've got to get more people. It'll also be able to get local residents to become members of our club, and I think we've got to go out there and talk to them. You've got to get 800, I think, new people coming into these flats there. Why can't they all become members of our club?
I mean, it's a topic, I think it's been sort of mentioned before, the idea of linking the Don's Trust membership with the season tickets. It's something that interests me just in terms of looking at how it would actually work and make it work, whatever. How do you think it would link with younger members and junior Don's Trust members?
I think the junior Dons, again, there should be a link, because the fact is that they'll pay a reduced fee, and the fact is we should give them benefits for the youngsters. I mean, there's no reason why they can't come to the youngster games, like the under-18 games and all that, free of charge and things like that. We can do lots of things, and I think that's what we've got to do, is volume of people. We need to come in and be members.
Now, I'd like to link again from just going back to the price increase and what have you, because that's something you do reference in your manifesto.
Yep.
But before I get on to the sort of whys and wherefores and the ins and outs of that one, should just clarify first, because last year you ran for election for the Don's Trust Board.
Yep.
At the time you were involved with the AFC Wimbledon ladies side.
Correct.
Is that still the case?
I'm still a member. In fact, I'm still a director of the ladies limited company.
Okay.
Which I'd have to stand down from if I get elected as a member of the Don's Trust. But I don't see any conflict in that. I don't believe that. I think that people should be allowed to be a member as well as be on the Don's Trust.
Okay.
Because we've all got the same ideas and want to do things. So.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is there a potential conflict of interest in there? You say you don't think there would be.
No, I've already said that I would stand down if I get elected, because I feel that I want to do a bit more for this club to get things going.
Would that be the same for the I hesitate to say men's team, but you've mentioned that the ladies' team is sort of a limited company in its own right.
Yeah.
In the same way that AFC Wimbledon Football Club is in its own right,
Yeah.
reporting to the Dons Trust. Would you say that's the same situation for football club board members, that you wouldn't advocate, or you would or wouldn't advocate them being Dons Trust board members as well?
I think we should have Dons Trust members on the main football.
Dons Trust board members?
Yeah,
Okay.
on the
football
actual
club board.
football club board.
Okay. Would that become then, and this links to another question we've got later on, but would that
Because I think 3 people is not enough for the main the football side.
Okay.
I think we need to actually expand that and perhaps have a Dons Trust membership or member on that board.
And then create a full-time paid role for that particular member, perhaps, or not?
Well, again, it comes down to the costs.
Yeah.
If the cost implication obviously makes it, I mean, we want players, football players, but if we've actually got people that are willing to be there from the Dons Trust, I think we should have somebody. It's one of these things that, like Eric, he got paid a guinea, but the fact is that we've got people like that who would obviously sit on that board and be very a vital part to taking this club forward, personally.
To go back to the ladies then, as I mentioned there, just
Yep.
for a second, because you do say you'd like to increase, we already talked about increasing season ticket prices for the benefits that come with being a Dons Trust member.
Correct.
Alongside a season ticket. You also say that you'd like to increase season ticket price by £25 a year to help fund the ladies' team.
Yes.
I imagine we had a vote a few seasons ago about raising season ticket prices.
Yep.
The issue was actually put to the membership and we voted in favour.
Yep.
I think it was on the premise of being promoted.
Yeah.
And we agreed for ticket prices to go up. Do you think people would approve an increase in ticket prices purely for the benefit of the ladies?
Well, I think the ladies' side is currently in, I think, the 3rd tier of football. And if we really, as a club, want to take the ladies further, we've got to find funding. And I think the funding needs to come in ways like this, by charging £25 a year, which means that anybody can come and watch their games with a season ticket. They can come and watch every game free of charge, because the whole idea is the ladies' team moving into Plough Lane as well.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is we will then get the ground fuller. And ladies' football is growing so fast that if we don't invest in it, we will get left behind. We're getting left behind currently in what we're playing at the moment. Sides are coming in, with ex-Brighton players, because Brighton have gone into the Super League, and so they went to Crawley Wasps, and then Crawley Wasps walked the league last year, and now they're top of the next division, and they'll be going into the Women's Super League. To get into the Women's Super League should be our aim, exactly like the men's aim should be to get into the Premier League. And the only way of doing this is finding funding. We as a club find it very difficult getting sponsors. Even the main club, big sponsors. We're all right with local community companies, but the real big companies we don't tap into. And I think it's with the ladies, by giving them anybody a free entry on a Sunday afternoon. It's a community club, and then you've got all the disability sections and all these sections. The whole club has got to come as one and go forward as one. Totally community.
It's an interesting one, just as an aside, to
Yep.
go too much further into ladies' things, but you mentioned there, so the plan will be, when we have Plough Lane, the ladies move and play their home fixtures there.
Yes.
With potential perhaps for asking if fixtures can be adjusted somewhat. Maybe we could have men's one week, ladies the next week, and maybe a Christian. I don't know. That's a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
Would that mean? I don't understand at the moment. Just as I say as an aside, funding for the ladies team. We use Carshilton, we use Colston Avenue at Carshilton Athletic.
Yes.
Or do we get that free of charge currently?
No.
Do you know?
We pay
through that.
£450 a match for that.
Wow. Okay. So that
Plus
cost gets eliminated immediately.
Correct.
So does that money then go towards? Can we get that money back to allocate towards playing budget for the ladies, or does that not? Do you not know that?
Well,
yet?
we don't know yet. I mean, the club might decide to charge us £450 a match, but the whole idea is to actually use those facilities and get people coming in to use the bar, and basically making our club working 24/7.
Now, you mentioned they're bringing the ladies under one umbrella with the club, one club altogether, anything like that.
Yep.
Which is something I was interested to in terms of Dons Trust members.
Yes.
And getting everyone in the Dons Trust membership involved.
Yep.
You've mentioned about future generations and getting their voices heard in your manifesto.
Yeah.
18 to 35 demographic
Yep.
is woefully underrepresented.
Yes.
Underrepresented.
Yeah.
I can't even say the word. It sounds weird to me. Of course, we have 2 members of the 18 to 35 demographic here in this room right now, with myself and George. And that's actually true. I've just realised that, listeners. I'm not actually lying. I do fall into the 18 to 35 demographic. How do we get that voice heard?
I'm old.
Yes, you are. Well noticed. How do we get that voice? How do we get those voices heard? Why are we not getting them currently?
Well, I think the fact is that the Twitter and all the Facebook, which I am very poor at, I can honestly say that as an old git. But the fact is that we need young people to come in on the board and actually represent them. Perhaps invite them, co-opt them into it. So have someone co-opted to actually look at that area. Because the fact is, out on those terraces, if you look there, the age groups, I mean, it's a wide range, and we can't cater for everybody. So why not co-opt people into the Dons Trust Board to actually look after those sort of areas? It can be controlled, it can be watched, and they might have better ideas, to go and get more youngsters to come and join our club. I mean, we've got the schools, we should be going round there with perhaps representatives going round there. We do it with the foundation, and again, we need to tap into that. I think a representative for that age group is essential.
Do you think representation of different groups should be represented and targeted by Dons Trust Board members in terms of, you've got your elected panel, should each member of that board have a responsibility for different areas within the club?
Yes.
As opposed to more strategic areas?
Yeah.
Such as
I think we could nominate someone to look after that area and to expand it. They could have a group of, you could have 18 to 35s, you could have 35s and then to 60 or something like that, and then the 65 onwards, because they should be represented because they're paying their money, they're coming to the games, and in fact more likely they're the ones who can come and support the club even more. But we don't tap into it. A lot of people just come along, watch the game, go home, and that will happen in the future, I know, but we've got to try and encourage them to stay, work with the club and take it forward.
We do have many fans that do exactly that. Come to the games, watch the games, go home, but never leave early, whatever you do, as we saw yesterday. No. In fact, the last 2 home games, never leave early. That's my one thing I'll say. Right, we have some questions from members that have been sent in prior to today. In advance. Let's start with this time with Peter Bowles, who has asked, what, if any, changes to the Constitution would you like to see and why, if you have any?
Constitutions are the bind of, I think, everybody's life. You can change a constitution every year and still not get it right. I think it's one of these things where perhaps if Peter's got ideas, he should actually let the Dons Trust know, and then we can look at those and change the constitution. But constitutions, I think you should have it as thin as possible and just manage the club constitution. We can get lost in it forever.
I am very much hoping that Rule 55 remains forever and ever and ever and does not get redacted or taken out or whatever. Anyway,
right.
Jeff Seal, do you favour term limits? Do you favour term limits for service on the Dons Trust Board?
Yes, and I think personally we should have not 2 years. I think we should have 4 years.
Okay.
And basically, at the end of that 4 years, you can only stand for, say, 2 terms,
right,
which is obviously 8 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's do exactly what, unfortunately, America do. But that's the sort of thing. I think you can get stale. You want new blood. And, in fact, we need to understand that this is a club that's going forward, and the club's going to be here when I'm dead and gone. And I want to make certain that the club is in good hands.
And last one, Hazel Potter would like to know, do you have any social media accounts? And if so, what do you use them for? But you've already said not big on the social media yourself personally.
Basically on WhatsApp, Facebook,
Okay.
and that's it really.
And that's just for personal use, nothing else?
Yeah, well, that's it. I haven't done up to now. I look at our websites, things like that, and look at the minutes of the Dons Trust, and always have questions on that. So.
Do you think the Dons Trust currently uses social media well enough?
No, I think we lack a lot of guidance. I think we need to tell people what's going on more. You don't get the information that comes out for the minutes about a month later, and I personally think that we should have instant minutes, in a sense, if it can be done, so you know straight away what's happening. I mean, we've got things on there where in June we had the manager and an assistant manager without contracts, and I just find that appalling. And I know Jane brought it up at one of the meetings, but up to date, we still didn't know that the manager had never had a contract, and I just find that poor.
Right, time for viewer questions, of which Kevin Boris says, is, what are you doing? What's the word? He's throwing three fingers. He's throwing three fingers up to him. And Mark has one as well, so we actually have four. George has not been sacked yet, but I bet you he hasn't also found out who scored the second goal against Nottingham Forest in 1987 yet either.
No, I am working on that.
Right, questions, George, off you go.
First question is from a Dons Trust board member, actually, with Hannah Kitchener writing in. Her question is...
Kitchener, not Kitchener.
Kitchener, sorry.
There is a difference.
Get it right.
Your country needs you.
If local residents / disengaged fans are members, what implications would that have when we are asked to vote on important club decisions?
Well, why are we disengaging local residents? We really should be in there talking to them, even now. There should be leaflets going round, I think, shortly, into all the flats round the new Plough Lane and talking to them. Does that answer her question?
I hope so.
It did, it's just George wasn't ready.
Yes. Another question we've had is from, on a similar topic, is Tony Shepherd, which says the benefit of Dons Trust membership is ownership of the club. What other benefits are you thinking of?
Well, we need more than just the benefit of owning a football club. I think the fact is that we should have our members given a bonus, I would say, to be a member, and you could have long-term bonuses. So if you've, like me, if you've been supporting your club for 66 years, what I've got out of it is enthusiasm, support, but I think there are other ways you can actually benefit clubs. I think the more you get people to come along, they can bring other people. And don't forget, it's the next generations that we need. We need more and more people join us. We're a young club, and the fact is, I kept saying this back in the days with Sam and Man, the fact is that, horrible name, the fact is that we're a young club in the Football League. Some clubs are 100 years old and still haven't got to where we are, but we've got to expand our family, and I think that's why I said in my manifesto that we should get our family worldwide. Let's get out there and promote it, show what we are, and get the club working harder.
Third question is from Dave Knight. He says, if we go around giving discounts for things like club shops or match tickets to members, that means the club would make less profit. So how do you make up this shortfall in revenue?
No, it doesn't mean you make less profit. You decide on what profit you want to make, and that is your starting figure. And unfortunately, all the other people who aren't members get charged of 10% more.
Okay.
And that's where you get your discount.
Final question is from our very own Mark Hendricks. And that's that, will Dennis be putting all of these ideas for the ladies forward, even if he doesn't get elected?
Of course, I still want the ladies to succeed. The ladies' board need to take the club forward as well. And the whole idea is that the club all move together.
Ladies playing today?
They are. They're down in Bristol in the League Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And we've also got a game next week in the FA Cup against Actonians. Actonians.
It's always Actonians. It's always
Yeah.
Actonians. Right, well, come on the lines. Right, 89 seconds is our final game. This is where 89 seconds, as you remember from last year. Very quick fire, either or questions. 89 seconds because Wimbledon's Football Club was formed in 1889. So,
89 seconds,
89.
Nick. We have 89 seconds,
I am
not,
going
not
to-
20 seconds.
I am
So you
going
don't
to
need
go slowly.
hammer through 'em.
I will go much more slowly.
Okay, right. Ready, steady, go.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
Yes, that's the right answer. Sorry, yes. Winter. Summer's horrible. Anyway. VAR.
Not that slow.
Yes or no?
No.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert or Wicked?
Wicked.
Popular choice. Richard or Judy?
Richard.
Eamon or Ruth?
I'd say Ruth.
Ruth. Beef burger or beetroot burger?
Beef burger.
Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
I assume that's Paul McCartney or John Lennon, not Aaron Lennon or Stella McCartney. Klopp or Guardiola?
I'd say at the moment Guardiola.
Scones, jam first or cream first?
I always do my jam first.
Death or glory?
Glory.
Long or Ramsdale?
Ramsdale.
Pink or share?
Share.
Standing or sitting?
Sitting, for now I'm an old kid.
English or maths?
English.
Correct. Scotland or Wales?
Ooh. I'd say Wales.
The correct answer is neither. Watford or Luton?
Yeah. Neither.
Oh, I've got two more. Two more.
Oh,
We're
go
going to
on
go
then.
over 89 seconds.
Oh, go on then.
First one is, should we sack George, yes or no?
No.
Damn. And finally, when you make a cup of tea, do you put the bag in first or do you put the milk
Bag
in
in
first?
first.
Well done. Thank you very much, Dennis.
Pleasure.
Good luck with the forthcoming election.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking your time today. And thank you very much for watching. We are now going to have our lunch break that Mark Hendricks is paying for. Thank you very much, Mark.
That's news to me.
News to him. We'll be back at 2 o'clock, and I'll be back at 2 o'clock because I'll be interviewing Edward Leake. So please, we'll send out a new link for a new stream on all our social media and our website, 9yrspodcast.org. Thank you for joining us. We shall see you at 2 o'clock.